Hey guys, it's Jaylon. Welcome back. I am so excited to share with you my introduction for my Pan That palette for 2024. This is so exciting. I love starting off the new year with like new plans, new things to work on, and I'm super excited about the palettes that I chose for this year. Palettes, there are multiple. So, I had previously put up a video where I shared with you some palettes that I was thinking about panning and had you guys vote on which ones you would like to see me pan this year. So let me share with you what is rolling in. Now I am working on three different themes of palettes this year. The first one is the Pantastic Ladies collab theme for Pan That palette. That theme is fun sized, which I love this theme because it means you can work on a small palette and hopefully work it out of your collection during the year. So the theme was created by Jackie Lutens, and this theme was actually voted on by the members of the Pantastic Ladies Club Facebook group. There were multiple steps to choosing the Pan That palette theme for the Pantastic Ladies. The process starts with members suggesting themes, and then we vote on all the themes that were suggested by the members in a poll. Then we start narrowing down like the top 20, the top 10, etc. And the fun-sized Pan That palette theme was the one that won. So congratulations to Jackie. I love this idea. I'm super excited. So now let me share with you the palette that I decided to go with. Now, all the palettes that I shared with you in that video, which I will link in the cards, were all smaller palettes. So there's several that I'm pulling in from that video, but the one that I'm going with for my fun-sized palette is the one that had the most shadow. I felt like that was the most appropriate. So the one that was voted on, not necessarily the most, but was one of the three highest voted on, is the Natasha Denona Mini Love Palette. I'm so excited about this. This is beautiful. So this palette has a total of 4 grams, has a total of 4 grams of shadow. So let me go ahead and swatch this for you so we can see what we're working with. I think these shadows are beautiful. All right, here we go. Here is the palette. Now I did go ahead and swatch the 3 shimmers over a bit of a wet base to get a better idea of what they would look like on the eye. But there are the shadows. This duochrome is stunning. The mattes are both beautiful, beautiful mattes. This is going to be a beautiful inner corner shade as well as a lid shade. And then, of course, this one's a great all over the lid shade. So anyway, there is the Mini Love palette. I'm so excited. I just filmed my Pan That palette finale for 2023. And considering how much shadow I used in that project, which I didn't even total up, but over 20 grams of shadow. So I don't think I'll have a problem finishing this beauty. So exciting. So that is my fun-sized Pan That palette. Now this palette I went ahead and did weights on these. So I'll go ahead and share with you the starting weight and like I said, the amount of shadow that's in here. I mentioned the amount of shadow, it's 4 grams. This starting weight of this packaging is 47.8 grams. So we'll continue to monitor that and I'll share updates with you every month on how the weight on that one is looking. Next up is my Baby Pan That palette. So there's like I said, there were 3 palettes that had the highest number of votes. I decided to go ahead and roll in 2 Baby Pan That palettes this year because I wanted to. The first one, and this is the one that got the most votes, is the Pat McGrath Labs Midnight Voyage Mini Palette. This is beautiful. It has 6 shadows. The total weight of this is just 3 grams. So I don't think it'll be very difficult to finish this guy this year. And of course, as you can see, there's purples, which I love purples. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch this below the Natasha Denona palette so you can see what it looks like. All right, so here are the 6 shadows for the Pat McGrath Midnight Voyage palette, and I think it's a great complementary palette to the Mini Love. I mean, I think those are going to be work really, really well together. So I'm just super excited. Like this one, this shade here could also be used as an inner corner if I needed it to. But you've got some of these really nice purples that I think are gonna go well with like the pink hue of this palette. Yeah. And of course you've got some neutral shades as well, which is great. So yeah, that is the Pat McGrath Midnight Voyage palette. Now this one, I think I may have mentioned, has 3 grams of shadow. The current starting weight of this is 45.7 grams. So we'll see if, I like to see like how much is actually in here versus what they say is in here. Because they say, it says 3 grams. But it could be right at 3 or it could be over. It could be over quite a bit. So that's what we're going to find out this year. Hopefully, I can finish this one. I don't think it'll be a problem. 3 grams is not that much. The second baby palette that I'm going to roll in is the palette that got the 3rd most votes. And it is this Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Luxury palette. And this one I do already have progress on. I have finished one shade completely, as you can see here. I have pan in the second one. I'm close to hitting pan in this 3rd one, and I do have progress, some usage in this one as well. I think I'm close to hitting pan in that. So I really would love to get this palette out of my collection. That would be amazing. This palette says that it has a total of 5.2 grams of shadow. And it's currently the starting weight of this is 50.6 grams. So it's a hefty palette. Let me go ahead and swatch these 3 shadows. I don't know about this shade because it is not really easy to use in my opinion. All right, there are the 3 shades. You can't even see that first one. It's right here. Yeah, right there. And then those are the other 2 shades. So yeah, I mean, it's not, to me, it's, to be honest, it's not the most exciting palette, but it would be a good one to have and to use when I just need to throw something on my eyes real fast. And that's kind of how I originally used this. It's also a great travel palette for work, you know, something really easy. I think all of these are great travel palettes, to be honest. But anyway, I do want to finish this and get it out of my collection. I am going to continue to work on my Baby Pan, that palette from last year. It's the Wet n Wild Petalette palette. And I want to work on it because I've got just a little bit left in there. And I really would like to roll that out. So that's probably going to be the priority in terms of an inner corner shadow for me to start this year. But I'll eventually get to using the kind of this shade and this shade as inner corners as we go throughout the year. All right, so 3 palettes that I want to pan in both fun-sized Pan That palette theme for Pantastic Ladies, as well as my Baby Pan That palettes. So excited. All right, now moving on to the Better Together collaboration. This is actually now, last year was a collaboration that we did kind of on the side with Paula, and this year it's actually a project in the Pantastic Ladies Club Facebook group. So you can sign up to participate. The idea behind Better Together is to bring in a palette that complements the palettes you're already working on, that kind of adds a little bit to it. It can be more colorful, it can be more neutral, depending on what you're already working on or what you plan on working on. So I decided to roll in a palette that's much larger than the ones I'm working on this year to finish. My idea behind this Better Together palette is really just to get some use on it. I don't need to hit pan. I would like to hit pans, but it's not a requirement. I just want to get some use on this and use it in collaboration with the other palettes I'm working on. So the palette that I decided to roll in is the Natasha Denona Lila palette. This is my oldest Natasha Denona palette. It's also a discontinued palette. It is beautiful. I love this palette. It needs some love though. I've had it forever and this is what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch this for you and we'll see what it looks like. I'm going to swatch it on my with my non-dominant hand. It's going to be a challenge. Okay, let's see if I did this okay. There is the palette. As you can see, there's a lot of purple going on in here. There's a lot of cool tone shadows in addition to some warm tone shadows, especially these like right here, these three right here, and some down there at the bottom. But there's definitely a lot of pink, a lot of purple, cool tone happening here, which is going to be a nice departure from what I was working on last year, which was a lot of cool, warmer tone shadows. And there's some really nice mattes in here. And I will say, this is a very, like, because I've had this palette for so long, the shadows are softer, crumblier, and it's not the formula. It's the fact that I've had this a while. And in general, I love the Natasha Denona formula. So anyway, I would like to see some pans in here for sure. Like, it would be nice to have pan in some of these mattes and maybe some of the shimmers as well. And I think if I use it as a complement to these shadows, let's see if I can, you can't really see that. There we go. I think it's a good addition to this. I feel like it's adding some bright pops of color with the bright pink and this purple here, as well as the pinky purple up there. So I know I'm not doing the best job showing this to you, but there we go. So anyway, that is what I want to work on for my Better Together palette. I'm super excited to get some use on this beautiful palette. I want to get some use on it. It needs to show some love. So we'll see how I do. Now this palette's starting weight is 271.9 grams. There are 37.5 grams of shadow in here. So there's no way I'd be able to finish this. This is just too much eyeshadow to finish in a year. At least for me, but I definitely feel like I can make some good progress on it and show it some love. So that is my introduction for my Pan That palettes for 2024. What are you guys working on? And what do you think about the palettes I chose? By the way, thank you for voting. For those of you that voted, thank you so much for voting. I agree with many of you that were like, finish up this bad boy. Finish up that Charlotte Tilbury palette. You have such great usage on it. And you're right. And that's the reason why I went ahead and decided to roll it in as my second Baby Pan That palette this year. Anyway, that is going to be it for this introduction. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you're doing well and staying safe. Please hit that subscribe button and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. This is like the year of bougie eyeshadow palettes. Bougie!